Right, so we have a text field there, but we have this hello, hello. That's not what we want. Well, what we really want, if you look at any text field, in this case here, our text is going to be the value of our text field that is going to be changing. Okay? So that means then we have to have some sort of state. So inside of our note screen, still inside here, at the top, we're going to create a variable, say var title, and this is going to be by remember. Remember, there's two ways to create these kind of states, right? You could say it's equal and then remember. By remember also works. So I'm going to use by remember at this point. So in this case, I'm going to say mutable state of and pass empty strings like this, or empty string. This tells us then we are expecting a string to be remember as a dismutable state. Right, so we have issues here. The reason why is because we have to import a few things for this to work. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to say import, and we'll have to do it again because there are other functions that we need to import, or other the alt option, enter, and import again. Okay, so that's the thing. Whenever you use by, you will see that we have to import twice. So there we go. And we're going to do the same because we will need another one later called description, which in this case is going to be for this text field. I might as well do it now. So remember, it's going to be the same thing, multiple state of, it's going to be string. So we pass empty string like this. All right, so now that we have title and description, we can, instead of passing hello here, let's go ahead and pass title because that is the state we're going to be controlling. And for a label here, I'm just going to say title. That's fine. The beauty here is that because we have created this note input text composable function, we can call as many times as we need. In fact, we need to call it a few times, actually just 2 times. In this case now, we're going to say description, right? Has that state, and it's going to be add a note. Okay, there it is. Let's go ahead and refresh. Very nice. Now we can see we have the title and add note text fields. Now let's go ahead and add the button. Okay, it's very simple. You can do it. But again, I'm going to customize our button a little bit in the sense that I also want to be able to create that button inside of our node components here, so we can call it whenever we want to call it, make as many instances as we want, and so forth. So it's a good habit whenever you have pieces of UI that you may want to use again. It's a good habit to put them in a different file. That way you can reuse them. All right, so back in our node components, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create yet another function, composable function that is. So add composable. Call this function and just call this note button as such, and I'm going to pass a few parameters, of course, so I can customize it. First, I'm going to pass, let's start with a modifier because that should be the first thing we pass. Say modifier as such for our default. Then I'm going to pass text on click, return unit, so nothing, and I'm going to say enabled, it's going to be a boolean, and of course I'm just going to say it's true as default. All right, so now I'm going to create a button inside here. So for on click, what I'm going to do, of course, when I click, we are going to call the on click that we passed along. Here's the thing. If we do as you see here, that means then we have to say .invoke, right? So if we don't want to go through that problem, the trouble of doing that, we can just remove the lambda and say that this now is going to call this on click that we're passing. Okay, so different ways of doing the same thing. All right, so for our button here, we can pass a few other parameters, indeed, or arguments in this case. Okay, so let's go ahead and say shape. We want to add a nice shape. I'm going to just say circle shape. I'm going to add enabled. It's going to be enabled. What are we passing? And then let's put modifier here, pass our modifier. Okay. And then the contents of this is going to be text, and I'm going to pass text. And again, because text and argument name are the same, I can just get rid of that altogether, and this will work as well. All right, so now if we go back to note screen here, and right after our last input text, I can say note button as such and pass the text, save. Let's go ahead and refresh, and you see there it is. We have our save button. So you can see that the button is really close to our add note text field. Well, actually, let's add something, a modifier for each one of these, right? Because we can't do that. I'm going to say modifier. I'm going to say padding. And in this case here, let's put a comma there. For our padding here, I'm going to say I want top to be about 9 dp and bottom to be about 8 dp, like this. Okay, you can put in one line, but I like it 2 lines like that. Okay. And I can do the same thing. I'm going to pass this modifier. Next one, if we go ahead and save, refresh. All right, it looks much better. There is some padding around all of these widgets. All right, so now what is that we want to do for on text change? So the idea is that when we add something here, we want to capture that information, which we are going to be able to do that because if you look at the top here, we've set up the title and description. So inside of the first on text change here, this is for our title, I'm going to put an if statement here. Now this is not required, but I'm going to show you something really awesome. So I'm going to say if, and then I want to say it, in this case is going to be the text, right? I'm going to say dot all. What this does, if you look at it, it's all, it's a function, and it says predicate. What this means, if you have over, is going to say returns true if all characters match the given predicate. What is it that we want to check here? Well, we want to check, I'm going to first of all pass char here to signify a character. I'm going to go ahead and check if each character that we're passing is a letter. Look at that. Or each character is white space, like that. If that is true, then I'm going to say title. I'm going to set that to the actual information that we're getting, because we will know that we have added the correct text. We've validated that text. And if you have over, if you don't know what is white space is, it says white space determines whether a character is white space according to the Unicode standards. So return true if the character is white space. And so we're going to do the same thing for this guy here as well. A few changes. Instead of title, in this case, it's going to be description to set it to whatever we're getting from the user add note. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see if we can run this just to make sure we can see if we can add something. So I'm going to run again on my device. You can run on your emulator, that's fine. For the first time, always it takes a little bit of time, so let's be patient. And of course, I have this blank screen here. The reason why I have this blank screen is because I'm not calling this anywhere. So in my main activity, I have nothing here. So let's go ahead and just call our note screen like that. And I think this time, oh, of course, I have to add experimental because I'm using experimental. I'm going to add it to the class main activity at the top. Okay, let's go ahead and run this time. Hopefully this time it all works and we'll be able to see something. And voila, we can see we can add things now. Say hello or something similar to that. and there it is. Okay. So this is indeed working. The state of title as well as the state of the description, in this case the note, both of them are working. All right, so what are we going to do next? Yes, we're going to figure out a way to actually save these notes, at least save in memory, and see how that goes.